Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Kraus, and I am a business systems consultant with Opal Business Solutions. And today we are going to create a purchase order in Business Central. As you can see, I am on the home page of a company in Business Central. And to create a purchase order, we simply need to go to purchasing and select purchase orders. You can also use the universal search bar in Business Central to select a purchase order. Now that we are on the purchase orders page, I will be selecting the new button to create a new purchase order. Now, you'll want to use a purchase order in Business Central when you are receiving product from a vendor, but you have not received all of the product yet. In the case that you have received all the product, that's when you simply would want to create a purchase invoice. So in this example, we received only some of the products, so we would like to create a purchase order. So I will choose a vendor from the available ones. As you can see, multiple slots of the information have auto-filled in, and this is due to the vendor setup. Just a reminder that everything with the red asterisk is a required field and needs to have something in it. So for this vendor invoice number, we're just going to call this test 001. There are additional fields down below that can also be modified as part of the purchase order. But we're just going to leave those alone for now, since none of those are strictly required. So now we're going to the purchase order itself. I will select an item. For this example, we will choose this item. We will say there's a quantity of 10 chairs. However, we're only receiving 8. Let's say we've only received 8 of the chairs for this example. So in that example, since we're only received 8, we can set this quantity to invoice field also to 8. So in this example, we ordered 10 chairs, but we only received 8. So we're only going to pay for 8. Now, most of these lines are already completed, so we can post the purchase order from here. Now, a few things to know. When you go to post the purchase order, you get a few different options. You get the receive option, the invoice option, and then the receive and invoice option. The receive option switches the status of this purchase order to receive, and it indicates to your inventory that you've received 8 of the 10 quantities of this item. If we select invoice, it will take us to the purchase invoice screen and post an invoice for the amount of chairs that we have in this quantity to invoice field. And then we can do both of those. We can also receive an invoice. So for this example, I'll start by receiving it. And now, if we look back at this purchase order, we can see that these fields have updated. So the quantity received has now been updated to 8. And the quantity to receive is 2. There's still 2 chairs outstanding. So then you can always save this and go back into it later. Let's say, 2 weeks later, you go back into it and you want to reopen this. You can always reopen the purchase order. So we can do that. I will reopen the purchase order. And then from here, you can make any other modifications needed to the purchase order. In this instance, I'm going to say we've received all of the chairs. So I'm going to keep the quantity to invoice to 10. Now with the assumption that it's been a while. We've received the chairs, and now we like to invoice the vendor for those. So now I'll hit the post button, receive and invoice. So this would be receiving the last 2 chairs and then invoicing for the total 10 chairs. The order has been posted and moved to the posted purchases invoice window. Let's view the posted invoice. So now through the purchase order, we received 8, and then you can come back in and reopen the purchase order at any time. And then when you receive all of the items, you can then receive the last few items and then invoice through the purchase order screen to post a purchase invoice for all of the items. All right, and that is our lesson for today. I thank you for joining me for this. We'll see you soon.